Hello, and welcome back To Lead is to Learn, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of leadership together. Whether you're a returning listener or joining us for the first time, I'm truly grateful you've chosen us as your companion upon your leadership development journey. Our mission here is simple: to empower you with the knowledge, skills, and insights needed to excel in leadership. Before we dive into today's episode, I want to welcome each of you, whether this is your first time or you're a regular listener. Each of you are a valued member of our community. Your trust in us is invaluable, and it's a privilege to contribute towards your growth. Speaking of growth, did you know that To Lead is to Learn is brought to you by Lambda Solutions? At Lambda, we specialize in leadership development and coaching, dedicated to empowering individuals like you to become the best leaders possible. If you're ready to elevate your leadership skills, or if your organization is seeking guidance to achieve its leadership goals, I encourage you to explore the Lambda way by visiting our website at www.thelambda.co.uk to learn more about how we can directly assist you. Thank you for being part of our community. Together, let's continue learning and growing. And remember, following and sharing our podcast can help us grow our community and impact even more leaders. In today's special episode, we will be talking to an experienced leader about their experience of leadership, challenges they have faced, and any thoughts and visions for the future.
I definitely had the mindset of work until you retire. This reason and this why of why I started my business and this passion, and then having to move out of it because the choice is I either do that or I fail. I definitely realized I needed to hire not only one, but two people to split my job now. You don't want to be your coworkers' friends. You don't want to get drunk with them or do anything like that. No matter how good your job is, there's just something in the human brain where you just can't relate to that person, so you don't respect them on a certain level. I feel like once they left, they realized more than when they were there. Every single time I've done that, literally the next day, the whole workplace changes. And everyone thinks that stuff like that won't happen to them. And it's just not true. It can happen to anyone.
Without further ado, here's Jamie Buccheri, CEO of the Doggie Spa and owner of Caninology. So the first thing that I ask for all of my guests to do is to share the story, the backstory to how you got to where you are today. So do you mind running us through your history, I guess?
Of course. So when I was 18, I started my journey in vet tech school and in dog grooming school. And in order to kind of supplement my income, because schooling at that point was a lot of money, I started a grooming salon out of my mom's garage, and it ended up just growing very quickly, very fast. And I kind of came to a turning point when we ended up getting turned into the city. They gave us 90 days to move out. So I came to a turning point at that moment in time where I, decided that I was going to ultimately go with grooming, because I felt like I was helping more people in my mom's garage than I was working for veterinarians, just because that industry can be very grimy, can be very unethical. And I saw all the people coming through the door, and I saw how excited we were in the community that we were building. So I ended up going with that. I definitely had the mindset of work until you retire. I worked 7 days a week. I opened at 6 a.m. We closed at 8 p.m. I was there every day. I ended up having a child in 2014. He was murdered at 5 months old. And that just completely changed the trajectory of my life in so many different ways. I knew that the next time I had children, I wasn't going to operate the same way. I was going to make sure that I would be home with them and that I would be present and that I wasn't going to be this workaholic for the rest of my life. So I continue to work 7 days a week for a short amount of time. But when I did have children again, I started to take days off. And then over time, I started opening more salons. And now I'm at 4 salons and an online grooming supply company.
So it seems that from what you went through there are two key sort of values that I picked out just from your story there. One is the underpinning of ethical processes that you really seem to sort of gravitate towards rather than on the vet side where you felt like it wasn't as ethical. And the second one was the work-life balance that came out from your story and your history and what you experienced. So are there any other key things that underpin what it is that you do and why you do it?
I would definitely say those two things being the most. So I definitely follow ethical values. I don't do anything illegal. I don't follow in the gray area, and keeping myself aligned with that is, I don't know if I'd call it a passion, but I'm very strongly passionate about that. And then yes, now the biggest thing definitely is my time. And not only with that, it's not just personal. What that came with was the whole not wearing all of the hats in your business. So with that mindset, I was able to kind of step back and not be so micromanagey, which basically is the only way I was able to grow.
Mm. So how did you manage to achieve that? How did you let go of things that you'd obviously built up yourself? It was your baby, and then you had to sort of let go of some things. How did you actually achieve that? Because that's very hard to do.
Force. I cannot physically micromanage 4 salons anymore. So I've let go of the reins and kind of let that responsibility in the hands of the people that I trust and that I hired.
Mm. How do you go about hiring people? Are there things you look for then?
Yes, so that vision has definitely changed over time. In the beginning, when I first started, I was looking for a power groomer. So someone who could just groom as many dogs as we could bring in. Now I don't so much look for numbers anymore. Now I look for personality and care and passion, because that ends up solidifying the team more than people who just physically work hard.
So if we go back to when you first started it off, actually, and we just look a little bit at before you sort of went down the one track, so you just started it to sort of help pay to go through your schooling. What was it, do you think, that cottoned onto the community that made it grow so quickly and it become this success that you had to follow?
I think people could sense my passion. I just really, every single dog, I knew them by name. I knew the clients by name. Obviously, they knew where I lived, and they saw every time they would come, we would have new upgrades, and they would be like, "I'm so proud of you. You're growing." I feel like a lot of them kind of saw me as like a daughter at the time because I was so young. And yeah, I feel like they just really put their time into me and their trust into me.
So it's sort of that personal touch that you had. And obviously you've grown from there. So how have you been able to keep that personal touch with the fact that you're now running 4 of these salons rather than just one? Because with one, it's easy. You're there. You can have that personal touch and you know everybody. How can you keep that sort of feel around it when you can only be in one of the places at once?
So definitely I rely on my staff. I try to have a lot of like employee functions throughout the year. Like we go on 2 vacations a year. We have a lot of outings outside of that. And what I noticed by doing that is when we come back into the workplace after that, everybody is getting along better and we all like each other a little bit more. And then the more of a relationship that I develop with each and every individual, they care about me. And so they care about coming to work for me. And then that kind of just trickles down into everything. So it's developing that sense of care for me, for the company, and for them to just come into work every day and care about it.
Mm. When you're on these functions, I guess from what you're saying, like everyone comes back re-energized and sort of re-motivated for it. So there must be a lot of leadership that you are doing when you're on those out of office vacation things. How do you manage that with obviously bringing yourself to it, but also you got to make sure that you uphold some sort of reputation that you have whilst you're there? So how do you balance that? How do you juggle that? Is there any techniques you do?
Yeah, so I definitely, obviously, if you're going out on employee functions and stuff like that, it's very obvious you don't want to get over inebriated. You don't want to be your coworkers' friends. You don't want to get drunk with them or do anything like that. But there's a way to still be social and be professional at the same time so that they can say, oh, wow, like she's a human too. Like I relate with her and we're kind of the same in these ways. But then also, I'm not stepping over any boundaries and making them disrespect me by, doing some certain action. And then I am an introvert, but when I do go on those things, I try to be the one, saying jokes and, oh, hey guys, let's come over here and just plan everything. So I really have to come out of my shell and kind of lead the group on those functions.
I'm also quite an introverted person as well. Do you feel like you've accidentally fallen into this leadership position where you've got people working for you and you have to be extroverted when actually your natural instinct is to maybe be introverted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then I wouldn't say like a submissive personality, but I definitely like in a household, I'm not like the manager that I am at work. So that's another part of my personality where I have to walk in and just completely change who I am. I'm kind of used to it now. It's been 13 years, but that was definitely a challenge.
Did you know that Lambda Solutions is your gateway to unlocking the secrets of effective leadership, as well as exploring leadership psychology? We not only have this podcast where we explore some of the most topical concepts within leadership and connect you with the wisdom and experience of a community of leaders, we also have a growing treasure trove of leadership wisdom just waiting to be discovered. I would love to invite you to explore the Lambda Library, our very own hub of thought-provoking articles and blogs, carefully crafted to spark your imagination, challenge your thinking, and ignite your leadership potential. The best part? It's completely free, and we are continually looking to update our content to keep you engaged and informed. It's all part of our dynamic journey of learning, and we can't wait for you to join us. Whether you're a budding leader, a seasoned professional, or simply looking to enhance your leadership skills, our content caters to your growth. We would also like to extend our hand. If you have a message to share and would like to submit an article to our library, simply get in touch through the contact form on our website. We would love to add your wisdom to our leadership library. Are you ready to begin your exploration? Simply visit our website at www.thelambda.co.uk and navigate to the Lambda Library. You'll find our growing library of leadership articles waiting for you. You can then add us to your bookmarks to supplement your sources of consistent, high-quality leadership content. Discover insights, uncover strategies, and elevate your leadership game. What other challenges have you faced along the way then? So I'm sure there are key sort of moments or things where you've gone, I should have done this, or you've really had to think deeply before you even made a decision. So can you share with us some of the challenges that you've come across while growing your empire, if you like?
So one of the biggest things would be the growing pains. As much as you can plan from going from 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 or 3 to 4, some parts are just going to be left unplanned. You cannot plan ahead for everything. So really just those growing pains, making sure that you have all of your systems down, making sure that everything is rock solid before you're taking on another thing or taking on one thing, would definitely be something that was challenging for me, because I think that once I have something on paper, I'm a logical thinker. So I'll have it on paper and I'll say, okay, here it is. This is what we're going to do. And this is exactly how it's going to work out. And that doesn't always happen that way. So for instance, going from 2 to 4 was actually in the last calendar year. So I opened up 2 this last year. And I thought, oh, well, if I'm doing all the back end work for 1 and 2, I should be able to just add 2 more. It's all the same things. I'm just doing a little bit more of it, but absolutely not. I definitely realized I needed to hire not only 1, but 2 people to split my job now. So, yeah, I would say the biggest thing would be growing pains. And then another thing would be employees. Once you get an employee in there, we put a lot of time into training and into investing into this person. And sometimes it doesn't work out. And us business owners, I feel like sometimes we'll keep those people just because, we think, oh, well, it's fine. Or I put so much work into them. I need to try a little bit more. But sometimes that can end up holding us back. So that would be a big thing too, is employees, and finding the right group is a very difficult thing to attain.
So we do the growing pains first. Then you said about going from 2 to 4, and then you had to hire 2 people in because of that expansion that you had. So as you are expanding from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 4, obviously it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it seems to be exponentially getting bigger because by doubling, you've had to triple the amount of people doing the same thing that you were before. So is there like a limit that you think before it becomes almost too big a beast for you?
No, I don't think that there's a limit. I just need to make sure that I take the proper steps before expanding.
So when you were hiring these 2 new people, obviously you had it written down on paper what you had to do. You obviously had to invest a lot of time into those 2 because they would basically cause the success of these 2 new that you've opened up. So how much effort did you have to put in? How much time did you have to devote to just those 2 people that you hired in such a senior position?
Well, the back end person, which she was a groomer at one of the locations, she ended up being a manager, and then she kind of got herself in a position where she wasn't able to travel for work anymore. And it was perfect because that was right when that position opened up. So I said, great, do you want to stay home and work from home and do all the back end stuff or computer things? And just getting her on to all of our logins, our portals, our sign-ins took 3.5 weeks.
Wow.
We have probably close to 400 logins, usernames, and passwords for bills. And I didn't even realize that it was that bad until I was training someone and I was like, wow, how have I been doing this whole time? So I separated my physical back end work with her. And then I have a regional manager who actually visits all of the locations. And then she's the one who trains the managers, make sure, everyone is following instructions and stuff like that. And she is a certified master groomer, which, if people who don't know what that is, it's basically like having your doctorate degree in grooming. And she is the first person that I found that is better than me in so many different ways. And to the point where anything that I give her, I don't even have to second guess or check over her work. She's great in everything that she does. So for her, not as much. For her, I just kind of had to go over everything and she just retains and gets it instantly. The back end, that was definitely probably 2 months of onboarding total.
So the first one was an internal promotion, in a sense, an internal hire. And then the second one was someone from outside that you found that was just this pinnacle that you're just like, okay, I need to get you into my business. So the first one then, I guess that was a massive learning curve then, this idea that you've obviously been spinning these plates yourself because you've been so in it, you know exactly how it's done. And then that 3.5 week transition over to the new person must have taught you that actually all these systems need a bit of streamlining, something needs to change. So did you change anything, or was it the fact that she's just had to learn how you did it and she's now just replicating what it is that you've been doing and spinning these plates with the, what was it, 400 logins that you said?
No, so I always let her know, hey, when I was by myself, this is how I was doing it. I'll start her on that. But then most of the time together, since we're now kind of splitting things, we've kind of come up with our own systems. We've cleaned things up. We've tightened things up a lot. So yeah, we've definitely changed a lot since adding another person.
So I guess it's that idea that when you have your head in the sand because you're so in it, you can't see that something needs changing. But the moment that someone else has come in, a new set of eyes, it opened up your eyes and it's like, okay, this is unsustainable.
Exactly.
Were there any other things in your expansion then, other than that you looked at and went, oh, actually, this is unsustainable. We need to change. Did you change any systems as you went from 1 to 2 and then 2 to 4?
Regular internal systems, no. So like our closing lists, the way that we check people in, check people out, that kind of stuff, no. But definitely a lot of the back end stuff. I mean, even just with cutting bills, when you have that much, it makes you look at your bills differently and it makes you prioritize what you thought you needed versus what is actually operational. So I would say budgeting was the biggest one.
I guess as when you go from 1 to 2, obviously the income number starts looking good and you're like, oh, wow, it's now a lot bigger, but then the outgoings must also go up a lot. Did your margins get pushed as you expanded?
Our margins have been pushed, I would say the last 2 years. When I opened my salon, I opened off of the whole low cost, we help veterans and disabled people. And in the last couple years in the state of California, there are no low cost businesses anymore. Low cost businesses are closing down. So yeah, we've actually had to kind of come up in all of our prices. We've had to cut a lot of our bills, really just because of the economy, more than operating more businesses.
Most of our listeners as well, with their organizations, that's something that's going on all over the place. Everything's being pushed up. How, because you're quite close to your clients still, because it's quite a tight-knit community that you have and you know them, how have they reacted to the prices going up? Were they supportive of that, or were some of them just like, oh no, we can't do this anymore?
I would say we expected to lose about 20% because we hadn't raised significantly in a decade. So we went up a pretty good cost, and we were expecting to lose about 20%. And I don't think we lost quite 20%, but it is definitely very sad to, kind of have this reason and this why I started my business and this passion, and then having to move out of it because the choice is I either do that or I fail. So that was definitely very hard for me. And, unfortunately, some clients can't afford us anymore. But then there are others that are like, I do not care how much you cost. I will always be here. So that does feel good.
Yeah. You said about the balance in the why, and that sort of like in my head brought, so when you started this out, you had a vision for it. Have you had to change that vision then with the fact that your why has been challenged? You've had to think about that with the pricing and everything, or are you still within the same vision? Maybe you've evolved it to something new.
I feel like the vision changes constantly just because we're constantly growing.
How have you shared that? Because you've obviously expanded, you've opened 2 new ones, you said, within the last calendar year. How have you shared that with that and made sure that they still, I guess, see it the way that you see it, even though you're not there as regularly?
I would say communication. I'm technically home, but I am on the phone all day long. I talk to not just the upper management, but I talk to everybody on the phone. And then now, even though the regional manager does the meetings, like she does the one-on-one meetings, I come in and I'll sit in on them and I'll say, hey, how are you guys doing? What do you guys need? I like to go in and kind of groom a dog once in a while and just kind of see, oh, this kind of needs replacing. We should probably have a new one of these. So I would definitely say just getting myself in the business once in a while just to see what everybody else is seeing and working with. And then also being really communicative with each and every person.
I love what you said there as well. So you go into each of them and you make sure that you actually do the shop floor, if you like, role. Where did you learn to do that? Or was that just something that naturally came to you? Or is it just something that you miss doing it because of where you've got to? So you go around and do it? Or is it a mixture of everything?
No, it was an accident. So once I started stepping away, I thought, okay, I'm not really grooming anymore. But then, something will happen. Maybe a client was like, can you please come in and do my dog? Or someone called in sick and we didn't want to send dogs home. And I went in there and I started grooming and I looked around and I said, oh, wow, like I didn't realize this needed to be changed, or this would be a lot easier if it was like this. So I said, you know what? I need to make it a priority that at least once every couple months, I need to go in there and see what they're seeing and work like they're working, just so that I can make changes, because sometimes they don't notice stuff like that, or during meetings they don't remember to bring that stuff up. So I need to see those things for myself.
What sort of a message as well do you think it sends to the employees there when they see you coming in, the face of the business, doing that sort of work as well?
I think that it's necessary as a business owner that you do that no matter how stepped away that you are. I think you should always plan a day, even if it's just once every couple months, that you get in there and do that, because it definitely changes the level of respect for you. I feel like for employees, and I feel like it makes them work a little bit harder. Those owners that show up in their nice car and they're like, "Hey guys, I'm going to Mexico. See you guys later." Like, no matter how good your job is, there's just something in the human brain where you just can't relate to that person. So you don't respect them on a certain level. When the owner is coming down to your level and doing what you're doing and seeing what you're seeing, I feel like there's a level of respect there that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. And I think as well, there's a level of trust they have in you as well. If they see that you come down, you see what they see, and then you make a change to improve their working environment, they have a trust that you are looking out for them as well.
Yes. And then also when they say they can't do something, they know that they've seen me do it, so they can do it.
Yeah, true. So you had your hire, the one that your regional manager that goes around and does that on a regular basis. So you go in every couple of months, you said. She goes in how often?
She goes to each location once a week. And I actually go to each location probably once every other week because I still do their supply drops. So what I do is I have my garage converted into like a store basically. And so I'll go around and I'll get my box and we put into each box what each store needs. And then once every other week, I'll drive around to all the salons. I'll show up when they're not expecting me to, just kind of drop off supplies, say hi to everyone, check up on things.
Have you ever on one of your visits sort of witnessed something and you've had to suddenly drop what you're doing and be like, okay, I need to sort this out. This is not going the way I want it to.
Yeah, I feel like just because I show up unannounced, nothing huge, but I feel like because I show up unannounced and they're not expecting me, they're acting the way that they would if no one was watching, essentially. So sometimes I will show up and be like, what is going on here? This is not being done right. And everyone scurries and kind of gets together. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of good because it keeps them on their toes because they don't know when the regional manager is going to show up that week. And then they don't know when I'm going to show up that week.
Mm. Yeah. It sort of checks and balances in a way, just your presence could be any time. So they need to make sure they're on form each time you do it. So the other one you said about the employees and the giving a lot of time to employees when you hire them, and then you actually shared something that I think is universal for small business owners, that you've spent a lot of time on someone, you've invested, and the idea that you keep them just because of that time and the hope that they're going to change or they're going to learn and they're going to improve. So how many have you had to sort of let go, and was it really difficult the first time to sort of turn around to one of those employees you invested a lot of time? You've probably got a personal connection with them because you train them up, and then you have to let them go. And then how has it become easier over time to just be, I guess, cutthroat, with no better way of saying it, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's still hard. There are sometimes, yeah, I develop relationships with people. I know their kids, and, then the time comes where I have to let them go. And there's no getting over that fear and that feeling of having to do that. But the way I work through it is every single time I've done that, literally the next day, the whole workplace changes. Whether it's, everyone is now in a better mood because that toxic person isn't there anymore, or we're not having as many incidents because they're not there. So every time I've had to do that, immediately that feeling goes away and everything gets better. So I guess that's really what I laser focus on, is what that's going to become and what that's going to improve for us and how I'm going to feel afterwards. And that's just kind of where I stay when I have to do that.
Yeah, it's interesting because you said about like toxic people going and then the mood improving. I guess everyone's workload will go up slightly because you've lost an employee there, but the atmosphere and the culture there is better. So it's that balancing act.
Well, not with grooming because as a groomer, when you come in, you say, I only do 6 dogs a day and we only book you 6 dogs a day. So if that person isn't there the next day, you're not going to do more than 6 dogs. So as far as the workload, usually not.
I guess the clients, you can't see as many.
Yes.
So that then
Yes.
pushes your profits down a bit.
Yes, but I kind of counteract that by always hiring, even when I'm fully staffed, we're always interviewing people because you may be fully staffed this week, but next week could be different. And you gotta find those quality people. So you have to always be looking, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've got 4 now. Are there plans for more?
Yes.
Your expansion plans, like how far in the future? If you've opened 2 within the last year, are you thinking the next couple of years or?
Well, so all of my salons, except for the first one, I purchased from existing owners.
Okay.
So the grooming industry is getting really hard. We're moving towards licensing. We used to be able to 1099 our employees. Now it's illegal. We have to offer W-2. So we're paying workman's comp and taxes. Like our industry is just getting really difficult. So I've found that there's a lot of people that end up getting behind on their bills and end up getting to this place where they built their business and now they're in debt. So if someone doesn't essentially like come in and take over and help them, they're just going to lose everything that they've worked for. So the last 3 salons, I ended up finding some people of that similar situation where they're kind of losing their salon or they're on their way out. And all 3, I was able to walk in with no money down, and the owners all carried the loan. So the next month I start paying them their loan payment and I just start going from there. So when I say expand, I don't need to like look for a location, do construction, build it out. Now that I've gotten myself in this space, I kind of have people coming to me, will you please buy my grooming salon? So I'm talking to a few people right now. I don't know what's going to work out, what's not going to work out. But as soon as I get that okay and sign the paperwork, it's literally just goes from one day to the next, having something and then expanding.
Is there like a rate of growth which is not sustainable for you then? Or can you, if someone tomorrow wanted it, you could literally do it?
Depending on the deal we made. But yeah, I think that's possible because all of my businesses are separate. So like if one is struggling, that's not going to affect any of the other ones. So like for instance, if you were to say, "Oh, well, you're not ready because this salon this or this salon this," well, they're all separate. So as long as I personally have the money to front this new business, it's not going to affect any of the other ones, if that makes sense. So yeah, really anytime.
So how did you learn all of this business then? Because you obviously didn't go to school and learn business through school. So how did you learn? Or was it very much learning on the go, trial and error, just working it out? Or did you actually actively have to go out and try and learn from places?
So both of my parents are entrepreneurs, but I wouldn't call them mentors just because our values and morals just don't align. And then also, like, there was never anyone who told me, this is where you go get a business license. This is how you hire employees. Like, there was never any like coaching or mentoring. I just feel like I was just around the entrepreneurship life
Mm.
growing up, but everything else was on my own. I had to go down to the city and get a license and figure out how to get permits and do everything myself. And that's not a flex. I honestly think that if I found a mentor of someone who I looked up to or wanted my vision to be like and kind of stuck with them and went under their wing, I would be so much farther. Because as an 18-year-old, I mean, what was I even doing back then? Like, I had no idea what I was doing. Every day was a trial and error. And, luckily I'm sitting here right now. But like I said, I feel like if I had a mentor, I would be a lot farther.
Would you say the opening your first one was the biggest learning curve, or was it the expansion to having 2, or even this most recent year getting to 4? Which one has been the biggest learning curve that you've actually had to do?
Learning curve. I mean, obviously they all have learning curves. Each step had a learning curve. It's just different. I wouldn't say that one is more than the other. So in the beginning, as an 18-year-old, I had to learn how to hire and manage people who were 20, 30, 40 years older than me. I had to try to gain the respect of people who weren't going to respect me because their boss is an 18-year-old. So I feel like I had those challenges in the beginning. And then now that I'm older, definitely employees was another learning curve, going from that finding a power groomer to, okay, quantity doesn't matter anymore. Let's look for quality and personality and compassion. So employees was another learning curve. Letting go of the reins, like we talked about, was another one. I'm a very micromanaging person, but having being forced, through adding on more things. So learning how to let go and prioritize, and learning how to just do the things that are operational and not trying to take on more things that are unnecessarily going to take up my time. I feel like those are the three biggest learning curves.
The hiring and managing older people one's actually quite an interesting one, because I guess a lot of people coming in, whether you're being promoted internally in an organization or if you run your own business and you hire someone, if you are hiring someone that is physically older than you and they're maybe more experienced than you, it's that getting that trust and respect from them. What way did you learn to be able to get that trust and respect for them? Was there something that you actually did, or did it just naturally come over time?
I never did. I did everything that I thought that I could at the time. I did the same things I did now. I would have one-on-one meetings with them. We had like employee progress reports. Like I thought I was doing everything that I was supposed to. But that age gap was just a huge thing. I don't think those people realized until later. Like I did have a few of them call me and text me down the road and just be like, hey, I'm really sorry for the things that I did. Like I thought that working for someone so young was just absolutely ridiculous. She goes, but there's adults out here in this world that are not as responsible as you. So I just want to apologize for the way that I acted when I worked for you. And I got that a lot over the years. So feel like once they left, they realized more than when they were there.
So how would you advise someone who is younger, let's say someone who's like 18, 19, 20, they're starting their business and they've got someone who's coming in that's in their 30s and they're not getting that respect or trust? How did you deal with it? What would you advise them, like, in order to handle that, waking up in a day and go, oh, another day, I've got to go and deal with them?
I just made sure that I was always on it because I had older people working for me. It's kind of like, I don't know, being younger and having an older person around you. I don't want to say it's like a parent figure or like an authority figure because you're actually the authority, but being young, you kind of like have that feeling because it's an older person. You're used to being around your parents. So just really always being on it. So, anytime someone did anything wrong, I would not let it go by. I would not say anything about it. I would nip it in the butt right away. So definitely dealing with conflict right away. And then also, I don't know. I really did it. I really did it. I just did the best that I could to let them have the best vision of me possible. But every day it was a struggle until I got older, to be honest, because I felt like no matter what I did, no matter how good I was to them, no matter how much I trained them, there was always this, you're just a kid. And that never went away until I got older.
Yeah, it's interesting you said about the fact that the older people that you're around, I guess, are the teachers you had at school, your parents. You're just so used to those older ones being authority figures, and suddenly you are the authority figure, and they don't see you that way. But the way that you said being on it, sort of sticking to processes, procedures, sticking to just doing what you're supposed to do, like there's no way it can come back onto you in that sense. Like you are doing the right thing. So I guess having that sort of foundation to sort of build off of, at least you will have learned something by the time you get to say 23, 24, and you are older and they see you more as an adult.
Right.
So the quantity over quality one, you've mentioned that before, and you mentioned it in this one as a big challenge, a big sort of learning curve. I guess what was driving that then? Because you wanted people that could get as many done per day and you went towards the quality. Was that because you sat there and you reflected back on your why you're doing it and the vision that you had, and you just went, okay, what we're doing isn't in line with that? Or was there something else that sort of you reflected on that made you go, well, I don't want to just try and push through clients. I now want them to have a client experience that means they want to come back?
Well, the first reason is that we were low cost back in the day. So we had to do a lot more dogs than the average salon to make the same amount of money. So we couldn't have a groomer come in and do 6 dogs. That would make us absolutely no money at the time. So really it was around just the way that I modeled my business, low cost. Everything had to be fast, everything had to be in and out, everything had to be a lot, everything had to be quantity. And then now that we're, higher priced, we want to make sure that we're taking our time with each individual animal and giving them everything they need. And now everything is all inclusive. So I think really it's just the pricing structure and the way that everything was structured, because that had to change. We had to kind of go from a quantity shop to a quality shop.
Have you had better reviews, better feedback because of that change then, which has reaffirmed that this is the right way to do it?
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of it is mentality. You know how they say that if you pay more for a service, people are going to look at that as something higher quality because it's more expensive. I feel like that plays a lot into it.
Yeah. You're sort of playing a psychological game. I'm going to charge you more and you're going to expect more, and therefore we're going to have to deliver more.
Yeah.
And then obviously you've got the letting go of the reins bit, which we talked about earlier, the fact that you had, it was your baby, you grew it, and then you had to expand, you had to let go as you expanded to 2, then to 4. Are there any things that you, A, regret letting go, or B, you kind of miss because you've let it go?
No. I make sure that whatever I'm working on, I have to be passionate about it and I have to be the best one for the job. So that's what I end up doing, is not necessarily hiring people for jobs, but seeing what job people fit in the best. And that includes me as well. So I'm really good at the marketing and the social media and a lot of the back end stuff. So I make sure that I stay there because I'm the best at it, as opposed to someone else who might be better at more physical work or grooming or whatever the case may be.
Mm. How did you stumble across that was your niche, that was the area that you were good at? Because you would have started with the grooming side of things and on the shop floor, and then you've gone up and you've sort of picked things, and then suddenly it's like, okay, well, I'm the best here. How did you come across that and go, okay, this is my niche, this is my area, but everyone else can do all of these things?
So it started with a process of elimination. I at first took myself completely out of the equation to let the businesses run with me doing absolutely nothing, just to see if that was viable. And then once I did, I started looking at everything and I said, well, the social media can definitely be a little bit better. I know I can make better videos in that.
Hmm.
The marketing, same thing. I've been marketing for 13 years. These people have not been marketing for that long unless I hired a professional marketer. So I guess just process of elimination and then seeing how it's all running and then taking back what I didn't like being ran by other people.
It's an interesting approach, the cold turkey sort of taking yourself out. How long did you take yourself out for?
Probably 2 months.
Wow. And you just gave it all over to everyone else?
Yeah.
Wow. And when you came back in, what was the reaction from them then? Because they've had 2 months of being empowered and therefore they have everything. And then you're coming back in and you're taking things back over. Like, how did you negotiate that with them? Because there would be some people that maybe would have enjoyed this marketing and social media, and you're now saying, okay, I can do it better. I'm taking it away from you.
I actually didn't tell them I was doing that. So instead of being like, I'm stepping back, this is on you, I didn't say that. I just said, okay, hey, you're going to do this week. You're going to start doing this week. And then no one knows if I'm at home not working on the business. So yeah, I didn't tell anyone that I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then honestly, taking a lot of those things back, people were relieved because a lot of people don't like social media. A lot of people don't like taking pictures and editing. It's a lot of work and it's hard, and you kind of have to know what you're doing, because if you don't, you're going to put all this work into a post and you're going to get 3 likes and it's going to discourage you. So I feel like the things I took back, they were happy for me to take back.
Yeah, so you sort of came back in and it was almost a redirection of their energy, rather than telling them you're taking something away. It's like you're doing this, you're reallocating and sort of focusing their energy somewhere else so that you can then come in and take something and they don't feel like you've cut their legs from underneath them.
Yeah, I made it seem like I was taking something off of their plate rather than taking something away from them.
Which is a very good leadership technique. And how did you learn that? Or was it, again, just it naturally came to you?
Yeah, that I didn't learn that.
It's interesting that you can learn these sort of things by doing rather than someone else tells you and you go, okay, well, I'll try that then. Unlock your leadership potential with personalized one-to-one coaching from Lambda Solutions. Take the first step to empowering yourself to overcome any challenges and lead your team to new heights. Our coaching services provide consistent support tailored to your goals and challenges, guiding you through the uncertainty and leading to growth. But that's not all we offer. Our consultancy services extend beyond coaching, encompassing a comprehensive approach to leadership development. Explore our bespoke consultancy packages, which include coaching as a fundamental component. Or if you're seeking something even more tailored, contact us directly through our website to build a solution perfectly suited to your organization's needs. Visit www.thelambda.co.uk to discover how Lambda Solutions can help you to reach your leadership potential. Together, let's learn, grow, and elevate your organization to a new level of success. So I want to go back a little bit to your story, if we can. And you said about the personal challenges that you went through that then sort of mapped, if you like, how you were going to approach life in your business. Obviously, that was a very difficult time for you. How did you get through that whilst still running a business at the same time? Because obviously your energy had to 100% go towards your personal life and just getting yourself right. What happened to your business at that moment in time?
I actually didn't do that. I came back to work the next day after we got home from the hospital. I mean, I couldn't be home. It happened in the home that I was living in. So to be honest, as soon as I woke up that next day, I'm going to work. Obviously, the first thing in my mind, I didn't have a solid enough team where I just completely trusted them. So in my mind, I was like, I cannot let this be the reason why I lose my business. Like these people will take me under if I don't go show up there. So yeah, I didn't take any time off for myself. I mean, who knows how I was personality wise to everyone during that time. So I apologize if you're listening and you were around during that time, because I was probably very disconnected, very dissociated. But I also had this laser focus that you probably can't get unless you experience something really traumatic like that.
What do you think the reason behind the laser focus was? Was it as an avoidance sort of technique from what was going on in your personal life, or was it because this is the only thing I have control over, so I'm going to control it?
No, I was just so mad at myself for having that mindset of working myself to the bone until you retire, because I had missed out on so much time. When I had my son, I was back to work 3.5 weeks after I had a C-section. So I was just really mad at myself for what I thought was important in life.
Mm-hmm.
So my laser focus was to get myself to a place where I wasn't going to be like that. And I knew that from day one. I was just really upset with myself and my prioritizing in the past.
If that hadn't have happened, do you think that you would be where you are now?
No. I probably would have had one salon forever.
Mm.
And been working 7 days a week for the rest of my life.
Mm. I guess there's a lot of people out there that probably still are on that train of work, 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 and family life and home is a second priority, and they're almost living to work rather than working to live in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't wait until something happens to change your life.
I think I saw a quote actually, must have been about a month or so ago, that if you're fired or you leave, you're forgotten within 2 weeks by the people that you work for, your business. But at home, if you were to disappear within 2 weeks, you would still be lost. You'd still be, you know, they'd still be feeling the loss of you, many years down the line. So it's like that's where your focus should be. It's where the people care and they're going to miss you rather than where they're not going to miss you if you weren't there. The fact that it sort of led to a sort of positive change for your work-life balance then, and you're now in a place now where I guess you're at home more than you're in the business, which, you've been able to do that for yourself and for your family. So if someone was listening, what piece of advice would you share from that, or pieces of advice, because there's probably more than one, so key things that sort of come to you right now that from your journey and your personal sort of circumstances that you would like to share with them, whether they're going to take it on board or not?
Business owners or just working people?
I guess both.
Again, like I said a minute ago, just you don't want to wait until tragedy happens for you to change your priorities. And everyone thinks that stuff like that won't happen to them. And it's just not true. It can happen to anyone. So if you're thinking that in the future you want to get yourself to a place where you're either not working so much, or if you're a business owner that you're working on the business and not in it, I would say to definitely write down a plan, and don't just say, oh, I'll do that when I'm this age. Oh, I'll do that when this happens. Oh, the first of the year. Stop setting dates. Write down a plan on how to get there and get there as quickly as you can, because you don't know how much time you have.
In terms of the plan, then, that's an interesting one that you said, write down a plan. If you were going to sit down and write a plan and maybe put down some key steps to take yourself from when you were just one salon to being the very successful person that you are now, what key steps would you write down on that piece of paper that maybe people could use as a sort of guide and go, okay, that's the sort of thing that I should be looking at?
So, as far as in your business, the most important thing to start with is either whatever you call it, a procedure book, a policy book, a handbook, whatever you want to call it. Basically, every single thing that you do in your business, I don't know what kind of business you have, but whether you're checking in clients, checking out clients, your opening list, your closing list, your operations, your rules, your regulations, your policy, your dress code, everything, write it down. You can also use, if you guys don't like typing, you can also use Chat GPT. You can just type in the rules and Chat GPT will create a handbook for you if you don't want to type out multiple pages. But definitely your first step is going to be writing down everything that's up here, because no one is going to be able to do it effectively if you are just training people by your voice. So getting that policy and procedure book is going to be your first step into stepping back from the business, because now you have some language in front of you, a guide for people to follow. That's exactly what you want and how you want it. And now you don't necessarily have to train those people. You can maybe have someone else do it, or you can send them home with their book. So definitely getting your policies and procedures down would be first. Once you do that, once you write all of your policies and procedures down, you're going to start seeing holes. And that is going to be your opportunity to solidify your systems, your structures, your policies. And then from there, it's just going to be a goal for you to slowly step back. So maybe take one responsibility off of you a month or a week or at a time, and just, yeah, slowly take responsibility off of yourself until you're in a place where you're comfortable.
And I guess that's where you are now in terms of the last year. You've even hired people and you've taken stuff off yourself and you've given it on to them. So you're in your step 3. Are there any other steps that you still haven't yet got to that you'd maybe add to that?
Well, after that, it's going to be up to you, because stepping back is not always forced like it was for me opening more. I literally can't be there. That's not going to be the case for everyone. So If you're not forced, you are going to have the discipline to pull yourself out when you don't have to. So I guess that's going to be the next thing, is figuring out what is operational and what is not, and how much time are you actually spending on these tiny things that are minute and minuscule and are just burning you out. So yeah, finding your place and finding what is operational and pushing everything off to others.
I like the way you said that, finding your place. I guess at some point you're going to find, okay, this is where it's sustainable for me. That's your place. That's a nice place to end up at. So just to recap there, we got the policy procedure book to start off with. Just you're writing down everything that you do, I guess, in the business so that everyone else can do it. Second one is to identify any holes and solidify up. So that was, if we go back to your story, that was when you got your internal hire, you hired them up, and then you're trying to pass over and there was 400 logins. There's all sorts of things. You sort of found some holes in that procedure there, and you both worked together to tighten that up a bit. Then you slowly step back by giving away one responsibility per month or however frequently you want to do that. So that's empowering the other people in your business to be able to run the business themselves. You did that cold turkey and then you came back in. And then number 4 is having the discipline to find your place so that you don't keep stepping back in. You find where it is that you're needed. And that gets you to being a very successful person like you. And then I guess able to expand. And I guess when you do expand, do you find that when you do open, you're going to have to step back in a little bit and then you're going to have to retake yourself out and then step back in and retake yourself out?
Yes.
Okay. And that's interesting because we go back to your leasing bit. I like your leasing model, this whole model that you have, that I feel like there's less risk in what you do than if you were to just build from the ground up. If you were to just build a whole new place and hire in whole new people and get it running.
Right. And start from 0 clients. Yeah.
So is it all local at the moment that you have? It's all in the same sort of area, all visitable for you, or do you have to travel quite far to get to some of?
They're all within 50 miles.
So would you ever go further than that?
I would. Yeah.
So if anyone's listening right now and they've got a grooming business and they're like, they could literally reach out to you.
Yes.
You've got your other business as well. You said you've got the one that you work from home, the one that your supply business that you have. So how did that start? When did that start in this journey, or was it always alongside?
It was always alongside. It just wasn't a legitimate business. So I started because in the beginning, grooming salon products were just not it. It either smelled good but didn't clean well. There was just always some issues. So I ended up making my own natural dog shampoo, and then that ended up into toothpaste and perfume, and I ended up making like probably 80% of the products that we use on our pets. And over the years, groomers would just be like, I love the face scrub, I love the shampoo. And a couple of them, even after leaving or starting their own business, still buy stuff from me. So at a certain point, just getting so much good feedback, I decided to actually, make it a legitimate business. So in 2021, I started that. I'm not growing that right now on purpose, because if I take a step up, I'm going to need a lot of really big, expensive equipment, and my operation costs are going to go up a lot. So I actually like where it's at now. Obviously, I service my salons and then I service local salons. So I don't have to deal with shipping or anything like that. I just go and drop off to local businesses. So there's a lot of salons that are actually my competitors that don't realize they're buying shampoo from me.
And do you physically hands-on make them, or do you have someone that makes them for you? Or
I've had hires here and there, but there's always errors when I hire people, so I make it myself.
so I guess that must take up a chunk of your time as well, manufacturing the stuff that's going to be used in your salons then.
Yeah, a few hours a week.
Because it's such small bulk as well, I guess that's why you can still do it. And you said the next barrier up is you'd have to outsource it somewhere, get it all packaged and everything. And
Yeah.
but I guess you could, if you were to grow that could become very profitable if it got to a certain size. It's just that interim stage to get there that is just a scary beast to overcome.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not ready for that yet.
The word yet is important there. So is that maybe something in the future that you might look to do?
Oh, definitely. Yes.
With that, I guess you'd have to determine where you're going to get it produced. Because if it's overseas, you don't have to wait for shipments to come in. If it's local, it might be more costly because obviously overseas manufacture is a lot cheaper. And then it's like you said, the quality control. You know, if it lands and you've got these like 500 bottles or something and it's not what you want. So there's a lot of challenges there. How are you going to overcome all that?
Yes, and it's a space that I don't know. You know, if you came to me with a grooming salon, I would have no problem at all. But this is, even though it's in a similar field, it's a completely different space for me. So I definitely am going to be working slow just because honestly, if I scaled right now, I wouldn't be making as much money from it. I kind of like that it's small and there's no operating costs. I mean, I built out a part of my house for it, so I have no rent, I have no bills for it at all whatsoever. So I kind of like it that way for now.
Mm. But I guess in the future, you might have to seek out a mentor that will help you because it's a space you're not in. Someone that could help you along the way, tell you what you need to do, how to do it.
I would definitely need a mentor, yes.
So again, if anyone's listening, obviously in the description to this podcast, there's going to be links to contacts. So you never know, you might be able to have someone reach out and say, like, I can tell you how to do that. So my closing question then is, well, we've kind of already touched a little bit, but I'm going to have two closing questions. The first one is, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned in your journey?
I would say to take care of yourself and treat yourself like an athlete. When I say that, I mean we always need to be constantly challenging our minds, our body, our spirit by at least eating food of some nutritional value, getting ourselves up and active somehow, getting yourself outside into sunlight, getting yourself well spiritually, however that is for each individual person. I find that when we're in our tip top shape, as far as mental, physical, and spiritual, we are able to produce a lot better. If we're waking up every morning and drinking energy drinks and not working out and just starting on our business, I mean, I have that feeling too sometimes. I want to just wake up and start working because there's things to be done. But if you don't, you know, whatever your morning routine is, going to the gym, starting out with meditation, eating a good breakfast, if you don't set yourself up that way, one, you're going to come to burnout. Two, your journey is going to end a lot quicker than it should. And three, you're just not going to be able to take care of everything the way that needs to be taken care of. So start with yourself.
I was nodding along to a lot of that because that's a message that I very much resonate with. And the three pillars you said there are very, yeah, they're ones that I really do think that you need to have before you can therefore even be outward facing. You need to make sure that you've led yourself correctly before you can lead out. So my second question, so the first one was the lesson, is if you were to go back and talk to either a younger you or someone who's listening right now who's a young person starting out in their career, what would you tell them? What would you wish someone had told you? The one thing, if like very short, like 2 minutes, that's all you could tell yourself, what would it be?
It would definitely be to get a mentor, someone who is aligned with the exact vision and morals, and someone who is in the place that you want to be in. Find that person. You know, you don't always have to get something for free for someone. Maybe you can get a job somewhere where you can shadow someone, or maybe you can, you know, just like follow someone for free. A lot of people will be willing to offer information more than you think. So definitely finding a mentor and someone who can just guide you through things, because there's going to be points where you want to give up. There's going to be points where you think that you're going to fail. And so I feel like having someone who has been there before that can kind of guide you through those really tough times, I think is really important. And that's something I didn't have.
Have you got that person now, or are you a mentor to other people now?
I don't specifically have one mentor now, but I've been like this. I've been doing a lot of podcasts with entrepreneurs and getting out into the industry and knowing, like, higher up professionals in my industry. So I feel like I'm meeting a lot more of them now, and I'm getting small ideas from here and there, but not like one who I can just call all the time, or, like just downloads information to me. No.
You sort of absorb it from all around you.
Yeah, I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm on YouTube like at school. So I try to educate myself as much as possible without a mentor.
Yeah. I think that's it's an idea that I've heard several places, that if you put yourself in the right room, it's going to raise you up. Whereas if like you're in a room and you feel like you're above everyone, they're just going to drag you down. So you kind of have to sometimes be selfish and go, I need to put myself in a room where I am the least experienced person in that room, and just take everything in and just rise to their level. So it's the idea that you become the average of the people you spend most of the time with. So thank you very much for your time. Went through so much there, and I think it was a very quick going through the journey there, but you shared a lot that our listeners are definitely going to learn from. So thank you so much for your story and for being so open and honest with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And until next time, remember, to lead requires us to continuously